Yeah, digital is extremely important, especially for this segment, because most of our people are located very remotely. So with the help of digital tools, we are able to reach out to a much larger audience across a wider geography. And also we are able to offer many more services, which are not always possible on an offline mode.
Today we have with us Mr. Kunal Vaid, who is a social entrepreneur and founder and CEO at Resham Sutra. He is also the founder of Dev Nrgee Resource Pvt, a company specializing in development of innovative technology for rural livelihoods. Kunal pursued his graduation in production and industrial engineering from Delhi College of Engineering. He has also done MBA from Management Development Institute, Gurgaon. Through his enterprise Resham Sutra, Kunal is working dedicatedly towards enabling sustainable silk production for bettering rural livelihoods using renewable energy machines that improve productivity and income. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Mr. Vaid, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
So to begin with, what was the inspiration behind starting Resham Sutra to provide renewable energy-based rural livelihood?
So, actually, there is a bit of a story about how this came about. After graduating from college, I was initially part of my family business that was of textiles and apparel exports. And as a part of that work, I was visiting villages in Jharkhand where silk yarn is made. That's where I first saw how women were rolling silk yarn on their thigh. And this was an extremely painful process for them, and they were facing a lot of social ostracization, and then even the income that they were getting was very minimal. So that's where the idea first germinated, that probably we can do something to give them a machine or some kind of equipment which can help them earn better, and it worked with more dignity. So, but then it wasn't a business idea yet. So we just developed a machine which got a good response from the women producers, and then we started getting a lot of demand. So started with few unit, turned to few hundreds, and then few thousands. So that's when we actually started thinking that this should be done as a proper business, and there is a good potential to take it to many villages across India.
Right. So I think that's a beautiful inspiration that you have got, and you're doing some wonderful work for making, for ensuring a dignified livelihood opportunity for all the women. So moving forward, what has been your organization's mantra for creating successful micro entrepreneurs from such underserved communities of India?
So when we work with any community or any rural entrepreneur, so we try to inculcate in them an idea that they are first of all doing a business. So they have to be doing value addition. They have to be sensitive to the needs of the market, to the commercial conditions. So it's not that they will get things through charity or through some third person's interest. And then we try to limit ourselves to giving them a good ecosystem, to giving them the right environment, the right technology, and the right support so that they can work on their own.
Right.
So with that view, what we have done is we have started establishing rural experience centers all over the country. These experience centers are able to support a large number of villages and a large number of rural entrepreneurs through a hub and spoke model.
So I think that's a wonderful model, the hub and spoke model that you just mentioned. Could you also elaborate on the implementation model, this hub and spoke one?
So what we do here is we set up a rural experience center, which you can think of it as something like a car showroom. So like if someone wants to buy a vehicle, so you just walk into the showroom, you see various options available, you try them out, and then you get the financing support from that one spot only. So that's exactly what a rural customer walking into a rural experience center feels. So they are able to experience all the different livelihood options there. They're able to give it a try for a few days, sometimes even few months, and they are able to understand whether it is suitable for them. They are able to get financing support, for buying the raw material, for buying the equipment, for running their business. And they also get ongoing support about where they will sell, what kind of quality they should be making. So all the ongoing support is available right from that center. And each center has a number of satellite villages connected to it. And each village has a smaller center where the women work.
So I think this entire idea is very interesting that you have built upon, and giving them financial support and giving a lot of different exposure and opportunities for the women is just wonderful to hear. So apart from the technical expertise that your team helps the technicians with, what entrepreneurial skills were developed in the rural silk yarn producers and fabric weavers, and how important they have been in this entire model?
So when we started our work, we were limited to being an equipment supplier. We would just provide our machines and then step out, and the people would be on their own to conduct their business. However, we realized pretty soon that once the production capacity increases, then people start encountering new problems. They need to buy more raw material, they need to have more working capital to buy this, and they need to have a wider access to market to sell the increased production. So we stepped in to help them solve these issues. So we help them now also in forming the linkages for buying the raw material, for selling the finished goods, and in also running their business, in giving them training and skills about how to maintain their systems and accounts and maintaining the quality in their production. Right. So far we have been doing that in an hands-on manner, and now increasingly we are turning towards digital tools to help them do this at a wider scale.
Right. I think digital plays a very crucial role in this entire model, because it somehow facilitates and make the process more smoother and gives more options and exposure to get the work done. So that's wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing that.
So yeah, digital is extremely important, especially for this segment, because most of our people are located very remotely. So
Right.
with the help of digital tools, we are able to reach out to a much larger audience across a wider geography. And also we are able to offer many more services, which are not always possible on an offline mode.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, as we all know, that one of your main focuses has been women. And so what impact has Resham Sutra brought in their lives, and what do you aspire to achieve in order to strengthen the role of women and their representation as well in this entire industry?
Well, for us, more than 95% of all our customers have been women. And our objective is now to strengthen the ecosystem more, so that more rural women can become independent, can play an active part in their households, in income generation, as well as participating in decisions about where to spend the increased income. So what we realized, that as soon as the women are a part of that discussion, the quality of discussion and the quality of decisions changes. Because they are more focused on future, they are more focused on the future of their children and of their households. So what we see is that the responsibility of spending right also increases when the women become part of the decision making. Yeah. And we also see that the profile of the women themselves change a lot once they realize that they are a valued member of the household, not just a service provider to the household members. Then they themselves feel more active, and they are ready to also understand about the wider, bigger issues of the society.
Right. I think the power and the potential of economic empowerment, that change it brings in a women's life is just amazing to see. And as you mentioned, that decision making power that the financial independence give is something that we should focus more on. So on the similar lines, because you work mainly with women, and many of your target group, majorly it come from some of the poorest regions of our country, including tribals, rural areas. So what were some of the major challenges that you might have faced, and what approach have you taken to overcome them till now?
Well, most of the women we work with, happen to be first time income earners. This is the first time in their life that they are getting engaged in any productive income generating activity. So they are not yet ready to carry out the business activities. I mean, we are talking about them becoming entrepreneurs where they do not have experience of stepping out of their homes to start with.
Yes.
So we have to start our journey from a very basic level. We have to kind of handhold them to make them understand how they can do day-to-day activities and they can solve their own problems themselves. They don't really need any external help. They just need small triggers or very small help from outside agencies. And most of their problems they are able to solve on their own. So in fact, we help them and promote them to formulate groups. Because what we realize that when they are part of a group of similar women with them, so then they are able to function in much more better fashion.
So thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's wonderful to see how they perform when they're together in a closely knitted group, because women, there are a lot of socio-economic challenges as well in the society when we ask them and we go, in the process of making them into entrepreneurs. So the work that you are doing is really commendable. And on moving forward, I would like to ask that you have a vision making machines that bring happiness. So how would you define this happiness, and what role do these renewable energy based machines play in reducing the drudgery and improving the income for the users?
Yes, so we define our role as making machines that bring happiness, because what we are doing is not just about more income. That's an important part of it, but that's not where it is limited. So other than that, the person should feel good. The person should feel happy about what we are doing. Our intent is that they should get a sense of pride. These machines themselves become very prized possession for most of our rural users. They are probably the most important part of their daily lives. They are spending 8 to 10 hours every day with the machines, right? So we even make the machines look nice. It's not something that looks like a drab industrial equipment, but something that feels more like a gadget that you are happy to keep in your living room. Because in the rural household, there is not a separate living room and a separate working room. Everything is happening in one common place, right? So when you're living with something day in and day out, so it is something that should give you more than just money. It should be giving you a happiness from inside.
Definitely. It's amazing to hear that. And zooming out a little, Resham Sutra has been supported by Powering Livelihoods, jointly run by Council on Energy, Environment and Water and Will Grow Innovations Foundation. So could you share more about this initiative and what role it is playing in the overall growth of the enterprise?
Yeah, so the Powering Livelihoods initiative has been very critical in our journey. So from the point that we were selected for this program, we have been able to do activities which were not possible earlier. Our transition from being a machine supplier to ecosystem enabler, so that has become possible because of the financial and non-financial support that we received from the Powering Livelihood program. So as a part of this program, we have been able to set up a number of rural experience centers that I explained to you earlier. And then we have also initiated a model called Pay As You Go on our machines. So this allows rural women to buy the machines on an installment basis. So they pay for one installment, machine runs for a particular amount of time. And then when they're ready, they pay the next installment and they get a code based on which the machine runs for another amount of time. And then we have also started our digital initiative based on the support that we received from this program itself. So it has been very critical in our internal organization development as well as our market growth and development.
Yeah. So thank you so much for putting that out. And lastly, I would like to ask that what would you like to say to the young change makers who aim to work for such underserved communities and economically empower them? What has been the biggest learning point for you and for your organization?
So for me personally, one big learning has been that once we have identified our special journey or our destination, then we really need to stick to it. We really need to not waver from the direction, because there will be challenges, because especially if you're trying to do something new and unique, then the journey is not going to be easy, but then we have to stick to it. And then another thing that I'd like to tell any new entrepreneur coming into similar areas would be to not really look at very small gains or quick returns in small times, because big changes take time, especially in the early days. But then once the momentum builds up, then things will really move the way you want them.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I would say that it was refreshing to hear you and the entire journey, the kind of work you are doing with the women. It's amazing to see how you are changing the entire narrative and making them more economically empowered. So thank you so much for being here. This brings our interview to a close. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. So
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.